the dating app where women are paid to talk to men, the worst idea of destination dating for women, if you like your sugar daddies, and more on why men stay single. That's coming up on this full-length edition of Depraved and Debaucherous. Welcome to the show. This is KOP. Thanks for being here. We're going to talk about Meete with an E, a dating app now where women are paid to talk to men, and women can make money off of every message sent to them. That's a story that just came out. Oh boy. Coming out of Labor Day weekend. Destination dating might be the worst idea of all time. We talk about that. And more on the ongoing story that has continued on about why men stay single. And a PhD talks about the reasons many eligible bachelors choose to remain unattached. So anyway, you know the show. The website is ddradio.live. ddradio.live. It's very simple. Listen, one page. And when you go there, you'll see that I have all the good stuff there. The latest episode of the program and the last several episodes you can find all there for you to check out consistently. And then you go from there and you'll see links to the other shows that I do, which I do the Wrestling Israel podcast, which I record on Wednesday nights. This week it'll be on the AEW CM Punk, Young Bucks, Kenny Omega scandal that's going on after AEW's pay-per-view All Out, for those of you wrestling fans. And the Broadcasters podcast so far, we're going to talk about a guy who's considered the young version of Ryan Seacrest, looking to use Amazon AMP to revitalize radio in some way, shape, or form. So that's coming up on upcoming episodes this week here on the King of Podcasts Radio Network. In the meantime, thanks for listening in. You can find all of my programming, everything I do, kingofpodcasts.com. If you want to check out the whole full portfolio, it's right there. And remember, you can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn at King of Podcasts. Let's go into it. So Vice.com has brought up now that it's really easy now for women. Honestly, online dating has continued to be made for women to participate. This is like nightclubs that used to just create ladies' nights just to have ladies' nights, because they know in order for the dating apps to be serviceable, just like nightclubs to be successful, they have to bring women to the bar, the club, all of it. Because the women will make the guys pay more for the drinks that the women are going to ask for. I mean, especially when you think about it, no wonder there are strip clubs now today that are more than happy to oblige to bringing in women and make sure that the women are accommodated, even though they might not be interested in the strippers, but because of the fact that the women can go and the guys, in order to talk to them in the club, in the strip club, you have to go past the 2-drink minimum, the parking, the cover charge, and then the high price drinks you need to pay for the girls in order to talk to them in the first place, and try to keep yourself focused on them without looking at the women stripping and pole dancing. I don't know what you're doing, how guys do it, but you know what? Social media and the internet have really changed the game. We can say this over and over, but it's true. It's a shame that guys have to go through what they're going through. No wonder, we see more single guys becoming simps, that they might not even date. They just might want to offer validation to a woman because, and women, you must think of it this way. Isn't it something to be said about, like, when you have guys that are simping over you, it's just about your beauty and your youth. And that's it. Could you imagine if that's all they look at you for? And you ask yourself, oh, if you're successful, if you're looking to date up, be hypergamous, you want to get yourself up to a certain level of status, and you want somebody to help to facilitate your growing lifestyle, where you don't want to pay for the luxury and pay for the status. You want someone to go ahead and subsidize it. I get that part because you can get away with it now. But how many men do you see out there these days when you're dating? They're only looking at you for the body and for sex. But that's also because you've created that environment. Don't you realize that? And it's not as if you're not doing anything and not being productive, civil people in society. It's not that. It's not like their career is anything to be shunned upon. But when it comes to dating, the guys don't care. So if you are, a certified public accountant, or you are a CEO, COO, whatever, if we're networking for business, yeah, I care. So there's many attractive women now that are in positions of power or in very influential positions, or they've made money off of their beauty in your youth in various ways to make something of themselves, to be successful. Well, what is that going to benefit the guy, except for the fact that it's a conquest? Then the guy, and you might say, okay, so the guy only wants to be from a body. Well, you've made it abundantly clear that's all it's going to be now, because we don't care about anything else. Not all of us, but there are many women that when you're up at this status and you feel like money is the only object for you, and love really isn't the matter. It's just an extra component. It's just an extra perk, a bonus. But when it's not the priority to you, and money is, because of the status, the power that you're seeking, you're no different than men. Because men also lose the same kind of thought process with that too. But men can live without relationships. I don't think women can. Women need, if you want to have a child, somehow, someway, you're going to have to do something, unless you think you're going to go in vitro and think that's going to work, or adopt, which I don't think that's for many an option. So anyway, in this story from Vice, they talk about questions that are asked. Where are you from and what's your favorite color? And then that's person one. Person two says, hello, fellow Capricorn. I'm from West Africa. My favorite color depends on my mood. How about you? Person one, I'm from San Francisco, California. My favorite color is red. Now, in this particular anonymized conversation, the woman in this conversation, who was the one that was saying, hey, fellow Capricorn, was actually making money off of every text she sent and received. And so the exchange of messages and many more that fall took place on an app called Meete, Meete, which functions like most other dating apps. You create a profile, send likes to the people of your choice. If you match, you can start a conversation. But women can profit simply from engaging in conversations with the men they've matched with. How does it work? Well, the app is totally free for women to use. It's like Seeking. But the men using the app have to purchase gems in order to match and message women. And there's plenty of ways for them to show affections. They could send virtual gifts like flowers and teddy bears, translating the points for the women who receive those gifts. And after a certain point, this is the difference. We always know there's been like little emojis and things like that and gifts that certain dating apps that the guys can buy to give to a woman thinking that's going to make a difference. But the difference here is that after a certain point, days, weeks, or months after messaging men, depending on how consistent and popular you are on the app, women can convert these points into cold card cash, transferable directly to their bank account via Meete. And the more women interact with people on the app through calls, messages, and voice notes, the more points they receive. So women are going to want to persuade as many men as possible, or Meete's going to want to get as many men as possible to get on here. So now women are basically prostituting themselves for their voice. It's like sex chat lines in the 90s, the 1-900 numbers. We're back to that now. Do you understand what that is? And I'm old enough to remember the sex chat lines. I never got into them. But I know there are more than enough of these lines out there that cause this. And it's been obvious since the pandemic, there's always these new ways for women to make money. And this is another one. So if you look up the hashtag Meete app on TikTok, there's now 14 million views and counting. There's a video after video showing the app as an alternative method of paying the bills. And one video states it's getting a sugar daddy without the sugar. Now, they talked to one person, Megan, who's 18 years old, who's been using Meete for over 6 months. And she's speaking anonymously to protect her privacy. She's claimed to have earned 3,600 pounds through talking to men on the app. So that's what? Now, I want to say that's like what, 4,000? Oh no, that's like 3,000 American, right? She says, the job I was previously at was a Saturday job, and I'm saving up for a few things so the extra cash and interest to me. I've learned about some guys' past experiences with girlfriends, exes, jobs, pets, families, and hobbies. I kept it very generic. Another woman named Taylor has been using the app for around 2 months and has already earned enough points to earn £1,200. I don't know how much that is in America. Hold on. Let me just check. British pounds. I need to do this on the fly, but I just want to, I need to show how much this is. Here we go. So £1 sterling is a $1.15. So if she's saying 1,200 pounds, she's making $1,377. And for the one that said she's made, how much did she say? 3,600? Well, that accounts to $4,000. Yeah, $4,100. It's a lot of money. I don't know how much that is per, how much she made in particular, but there we go. Unlike seeking arrangement, which explicitly markets themselves towards sugar daddies and sugar babies, this is a way to quote unquote start meaningful relationships and meet friends. You don't have to meet anybody. And right now, 17 million users are now on the app, which you can find on the App Store. And Megan in this story says that most of the conversations have are PG. We talk about our days, jobs, hobbies, and pets. See, the difference is we're not even talking about sex anymore. It's texting, getting paid to text, which is a frivolous, honestly, a ponderous, really unimportant, dissatisfying thing to do, in my opinion. So women getting the chance to basically allow simps on this dating app to basically almost be like therapists to them. Well, I'll listen to you. I'll talk to you. We already have enough men out there that are very much beta males that are allowing themselves to allowed to be expressing their depression, their personality disorders, their various issues of toxicity, of which some that are not able to go ahead and attract a female, of which if they were the nice guy would exhibit narcissistic manipulative tactics. Well, instead, these guys, without the women in their lives, they're just validating and they're just hoping to find another woman just to kind of give them some kind of feeling of importance or some feeling that there's something about them. It has nothing to do with who they are as a person in terms of their status or their looks or anything like that. Women are more than happy just to kind of give some kind of a hypocritical, sanctimonious buildup to make us feel somewhat better, if you want to say that. But yeah, in this story, they talk about that there's a common misconception about sugar daddies that it's only about sex. It was a 2019 survey based on 48 in-depth interviews with sugar babies that 40% of the women didn't have sex with their benefactors. Most sugar daddies are looking for companionship at this age. And they've had a good sexual experience earlier in their lives. They're now in their midlife, and they want to be just with someone who just listens. That might be in some case, but that's still like a simping attitude. And men need to get back to prioritizing the fact that, listen, we want to have healthy, loving, sexual relationships. We should all want that as a whole. But there's the major disconnect. Women looking to monetize and utilize various manipulation themselves to really not give anybody, when you're giving that kind of money, you're getting that kind of money. What's happening is the guys are really getting nothing of it. Empty promises, empty feelings. Because then we cannot interact. We cannot bond with you. We cannot touch. We cannot kiss. We cannot hold. We cannot spend time with you in person, in real life, IRL. It's not happening. So there's that. Now, the person they talked to here was a clinical psychologist, trauma focused therapist, Seema Hingorani. And in the story, they say that most sugar daddies receiving attention from young women boost their self-esteem. And sex is often a part of this. But many women on Meete have found out, quote, I speak to a lot of men from around the world, a lot of them from America. They're in their 30s, 40s, 50s. Most conversations are platonic and friendly, but if you're quite sexual, having sexual conversations on the app gives you the opportunity to video call them or talk to them on the phone, which earns you more points. Right. Video calls, voice calls, nothing tangible that's even like a keepsake for these men. which doesn't make sense either. But this is acceptable behavior. Men, you cannot be going on these apps, not an app like this. If you're not for the intention of meeting somebody in real life, this virtual stuff's got to go. I mean, guys really got to learn about this. And women, I understand you're going to, take the game like this, but you know what, men, you need to stop and curb it. And if you know friends that are doing this, get off of here. Because the only way women are going to stop doing this is if the men stop placating in this behavior. Men got to get off of this right now, man. Get back to meeting people in person. Stop this virtual shit. It's enough. So this is what Meete does. And I'm afraid if this becomes something that really stands out in America, game over, man. Game over. This is not good. You have to be 18 or up to sign up to Meete. Like, it's bad enough for so many different paywalls that all these online dating apps already have already. Okay? Just like a Badoo. Like, let's just do this other thing that you just need to pay for. Pay for credits. Pay for the boost. Pay for this and that. Like, it's just like a menu of shit. Same thing here. And so this is said that really, it's just sad. A sad state of affair. It's a cliche, but it's very true. To see something like this happening on a dating app like this, it's just sickening. But I want to point this out to all of you out there. There has to be a better way. There just has to be. Okay, moving along. Destination dating. This is another thing that's been happening a lot where how many women that I see, especially when I look on Bumble, or I look on Tinder, or if I look on other places, say they want to travel. Plenty. And they all think this is the right way to go. Let's just go ahead and try to go travel. So the story is brought up here about Seeking Arrangement, or Seeking.com, that they're singles that are interested in destination dating. And according to the app, quote, members of the platform are quite literally willing to go the extra mile and travel out of town to do destinations for their first date. For those caught in the tailwinds of inflation, booking a trip for a first date might seem unreasonable, but for some tax brackets, it's a preferred style of dating. And 90% of females would love to be offered the option to travel for a first date, and 95% of males are willing to travel out of state for a first date. 82% of females have gone out on out-of-state dates that were fully paid by their other date, according to Seeking.com. But it's not a good decision. Relationship experts have always recommended a virtual vibe check or meeting in a public restaurant first when you're starting dating. Taking a first trip requires the sharing of personal information, which you should never do with someone you've had time to build trust with. Meeting new viable matches through apps like Seeking are exciting, but you should still take precaution. Being flown out by a potential lover is always great, but maybe try to hit in that third date mark and then frolicking overseas. And I've heard about this part, and, I see the approach of why this would be something that's happened. Just to me, when I've seen there's always been people on TikTok that have talked about the stories like this. Plus the same thing for guys that want to meet somebody all of a sudden they get catfished. Like, it's just sad. If you're going to do it, then give yourself another reason to do it. Like, honestly, I always say this when it comes to dating. Always have a plan B. So you might have someplace you're going to go and you're supposed to meet up with somebody. Well, the truth is, I always make sure for myself, and listen, maybe it is me being cynical and just assuming the worst could happen. Well, it does. And then I always find something to do that I'll have a plan B of what I will do if something happens where I'll get to you plenty of time. There were times I've gone out on a date, and the last date I tried to go out was, what was it? I went and I waited 15, 20 minutes for the girl to arrive. And she said she was on the way, and then she just did not show up. And I had plenty of dates where that woman did not show up. And so I always had a plan B on me. I would find something else to do to occupy my time. I had plenty of ideas. And plus, you always want to make sure that you're going somewhere where you can find something to easily go do and occupy your time and make the night something so that you're not wasting your time. At least you get something out of this. That you can at least enjoy your night out without being bummed out that this woman did not show up to spend time with you. So that's another thing I always look about when it comes to destination dating. It's an important thing to think about. You know, it's interesting. I just saw a website I never looked at before called Hype Bay. I don't know where it came from, but I just came to this and I just saw another story I want to bring up real quick. Oh, the rise of single men, lonely single men. Well, this story came up, and in the story, they talk about the fact that men are the only ones at risk of being a single, and a lonely dating expert reveals that. Well, this story, they spoke with Match.com's in-house dating expert, Rachel D'Alto, about the fact that unintentionally single lonely men will be more prevalent due to their lack of emotional intelligence. But Rachel says we might have things all wrong. She isn't denying the trend, but what she believes is that humans as people are evolving, and emotional intelligence is no longer an additive, but a requirement. Therefore, it's not just men who are at risk of being single and lonely until eternity. All emotionally immature people are at risk, regardless of how they identify. So Match.com put together a study called Singles in America. And while single men are the part of the shift in priorities, they are certainly not alone. Humans have progressed for the better. So in the story I want to bring up now, the continuing story from this, the rise of lonely single men, we have to go through this here. Wendy Patrick is a PhD that decided to put her 2 cents in that there are reasons why many eligible bachelors choose to remain unattached. So in her story, she says that many daters are reluctant to take relationships to the next level if it involves sacrificing autonomy and independence. For men, self-esteem is a significant predictor of being married or single by choice. And for men and women, self-ratings and desirability do not predict marital status. So she goes along and says that people often speculate they must fear commitment, having been betrayed in a prior relationship, or having some type of personality disorder. Research indicates, however, the explanation may be far more straightforward. Single by choice, with which I subscribe to that. Many daters are reluctant to take relationships to the next level if it involves sacrificing autonomy and independence. Amen. I absolutely agree with that. We all have friends who lead fulfilling lives who seem perfectly content keeping romantic relationships at arm's length, often due to the dismay of partners seeking greater intimacy. You know, it's funny, too, that I'm getting together with the Buccaneer fans, my group of football fans. We get together on Sundays to watch Tampa Bay Buccaneers football, right? And out of the group of about 12 to 14, there are still half of those guys. It's all guys, by the way. And I want to say at least half of them are single. The other ones are married and with kids, or married in general. So we have a couple of guys that are single with that are married with no children, and they've been with their significant others for years now. No plans on children. When it comes to, I'm trying to think, okay, I'm thinking of the names and thinking whoever. I think we've had a couple that are divorced, but there's a handful of us, including yours truly, that are single. And we know one guy that's been a kind of habitual dater, but usually he's single quite a bit. It just happens that way. So now, in the story, they talk about that we tend to psychoanalyze relationship-reluctant individuals as if something was wrong with them. What happened to the past? And I'll tell you what, there used to be a time when I was single that when I was in my 20s or into my 30s, people thought there was something wrong with me being single. That actually was still a thing back, 20 years ago. Now, not so much. 15 years ago. We also stereotype men as being more gun-shy regarding relational intimacy or walking down the aisle. But relationship reluctance is indeed due to a past betrayal or broken heart. And sometimes it's simply due to personal preference. According to the research for self-assured men, in particular, singlehood signals success and satisfaction. And this has been explored, by the way, the effects of self-esteem and desirable traits on the decision to remain single. Involuntary singlehood, defined as people who would rather be in an intimate relationship, and those who are single by choice. They found that self-esteem was a significant predictor of marital status. Higher scores correlated with a higher probability of being in a relationship or single by choice rather than involuntary single. No such link between self-esteem and marital status for women. And that self-ratings for both genders of desirability did not directly predict marital status. Some traits had significant indirect effects on men, the largest being good looks, where higher scores were linked with higher self-esteem, which is associated with a higher likelihood of being in a relationship or single by choice. Now, to me, I think about the fact that, I have enough women that have told me I'm handsome, which is very nice to hear. And, I don't get the whole thought like I'm some, dashing young hunk. I know that. I'm always a work in progress. And I really am trying to work myself up. But I feel good with what I'm doing in my career. And it is something when you feel content, that contentment is something that we don't want to have the apple cart shaken, because right now, the one thing for me is like just on dating alone, the things that I would have to go do on a date. There's a lot of things women might ask me to do that just feels like it's too much. You just can't take a woman on a dinner date anymore. You have to make it some kind of a immaculate adventure, something epic that is unforgettable. And I'm like, that's just too much work for something that I can't guarantee anything's going to happen. Like, it's the money investment, the time, just getting dressed. Like, for me to go and do all of that really needs to be something important. Like, I don't just do that for anything. And that's just something I look at that really comes out to me. Like, I look at that in myself and I'm saying, more guys should feel like they don't need to go ahead and go down the habitual route of simping or going on the dating apps and allowing themselves to be had. Like, look, we just shouldn't have that happen. That we need to have more guys pull themselves out of the whole dating app situation and pull themselves out of the whole chasing situation and validation. We need to stop doing this to women, because for men, we need to go ahead and just realize who we are, continue to self-improve ourselves, and not allow ourselves to get sucked into some of this truly toxic stuff for ourselves. We can't let social media and the internet control us and our interactions with women. We really need to find a way, and not everybody's going to do it, but more men need to stop that. And the less men that are available to allow them to be suckered in, the more women are going to stop doing this. Because right now, they already realize many men are single, and that's going to continue to be the trend. Women are going to have to figure something out, because they can't do this all the time. There are going to be a lot of single women at some point, and you know what? They can't handle being single. Not for that long. Not when it comes to wanting to have children, wanting to have a family, wanting having a life. You can't do that when it's too late. But there are going to be a lot of women that are going to try to do that in their 40s and see what's going to happen. So anyway, I'm going to leave it there. That's the show. Thanks for listening in. Come back next week for another episode. And of course, remember, you can always find many episodes that I will drop right here at ddradio.live or wherever you find podcasts for Depraved and Debaucherous, or look for the YouTube version where I put some mini episodes where I'm actually on cameras. You'll actually see some of the stories that I'm talking about. You can actually look for that on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/JBRASCO951. JBRASCO951. I think on the website, I'm going to find a way to go ahead and add the YouTube feed on there so you can check that for yourselves. I'll try to see what I can do about putting that on there for all of you. But in the meantime, remember that we are all a little depraved and debaucherous.